Tonight, we have a special edition of the Smoke and Mirrors radio show. I'm Sharron Rose, sitting in for Jay Weidner. We're on weekdays, 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. And for times in other zones, check out our website, sacredmysteries.com. Tonight, we have a truly fascinating woman on with us as our guest. Kimerer LaMothe, Ph.D., is a philosopher, dancer, and scholar of religion. She lives with her partner, Jeffrey G., who is a pianist, composer, and sound designer, along with their 5 beautiful children on a farm in upstate New York. Kimerer is a former professor at Harvard and Brown Universities, recipient of fellowships from the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study and the Center for the Study of World Religions. She's an award-winning author of 3 books. Currently, she's director of Vital Arts, a center dedicated to creating art and ideas that remain faithful to the earth, our beautiful planet. She's trained in modern dance, Haitian dance, ballet, yoga, and some Kathak dance from India. She's choreographed and danced solo concerts as well as performing in a range of conference, and liturgical settings. Her 3rd book, What a Body Knows, Finding Wisdom in Desire, uses personal anecdotes and cultural analysis to introduce her original philosophy of bodily becoming. Working with our desires for food, sex, and spirit, she describes a way of thinking and being that privileges body movement as the source and telos of human life. Hello, Kimerer.
Hello, Sharron.
What a pleasure to be speaking with you.
I agree.
Kimerer and I have known each other quite a while, and I have followed her career for many years and have been very proud of her work and feel that she is a true role model for women today. I'd like to begin by speaking to you about this subject of desire.
Yes.
And how desire can inform our lives.
Yes. I believe that desire has resources that we have learned to ignore in our culture. So many of our common sense understandings of desire cause us to suspect desire, to distrust it, to think that desire is something we either need to repress or we need to indulge. And part of what I want to say is that desire is something that speaks to us from the core of who we are. I think about desire as an impulse to move towards something or someone that we believe is going to grant us the pleasure we're seeking. So it's a movement, a basic movement of ourselves towards something which we believe is going to enable our lives. And if we think about desire this way, we can understand that it's a vital resource for us in learning to navigate and negotiate our path through life. So part of what I want to do in this book, What a Body Knows, is to help us realize how we've learned to blame our desires when it's not really our desires' fault. How we can learn to find wisdom in desires and then trust and move with that wisdom in our lives.
Desire, from the Tibetan perspective, would deal with the human realm itself as a distortion of that energy of desire. They call that lust. And then its transformation, its enlightened quality of that energy, because desire is an energy, would be discernment.
Yes. And I think that's a wonderful way of thinking about a couple of things. One is the fact that desire is always evolving. That when we are born, we may have desire, but not desire for any particular thing. We'll have desire for an experience of being nourished, but not a desire for a particular food that's going to give us that nourishment. Or we may have a desire deeply to be touched and to touch, but not for what kind of touch is going to be life-enabling. And so our desire from the very first is this instrument of discernment, which helps us to find those things and create those relationships that are going to support us in our unfolding. And I think in our culture, part of what happens is that we live in a world that is so driven by the mind and so operates in this mind-over-body way of thinking and acting and feeling that very soon in our lives we learn to stop that process of discernment. We learn to block it, and we learn to trust our minds and the people around us to tell us how it is we should act, rather than learning to rely on this instrument of discernment that's within us.
But also, wouldn't you say that the media plays a big role in corrupting our understanding of desire?
Yes, definitely. And I think it does in several ways. I think when the images, first of all, the media provides us with a kind of sensory education that causes us to separate from our bodies. I mean, it may seem a little counterintuitive, but let me just sort of go with this for a little while. The images that are coming to us, the sound that is coming to us, the simulations of reality that are coming to us are so strong, they hit us so strongly, that they draw our attention outside of ourselves. They sort of reverberate and resonate in our bodies, but they draw our focus outside of ourselves. And they're so noisy that it makes it nearly impossible to hear what the subtle movements in our bodies themselves are saying. And once we learn to sort of focus, and then what happens is we get hooked on them. We get addicted to the sort of the kind of pleasure that those media images and those media experiences give us, and we become farther and farther removed from the sensory qualities of our own bodily selves. And so what happens then is that we lose the ability to know what's good for us. We lose the ability to discern what it is that's going to give us the pleasure we seek, and instead we start to trust these images that are coming at us to tell us what it is we want and what it is that's going to give us pleasure. And what happens is those things that the media tells us are going to give us pleasure don't. But instead of distrusting the media, we just think we need more of it. So we keep going back to these images and these illusions of success and of happiness and of satisfaction and of nourishment that are being given to us, thinking that we just haven't found yet the right thing, the right food, the right person, the right belief that's going to give us the satisfaction we seek. And so in this process, we've forgotten how to pay attention to the movements inside of ourselves. So in that sense, our desire gets corrupted. We think that it's actually this piece of chocolate cake that's going to give me satisfaction, or having sex with this particular person that's going to give me satisfaction, rather than being able to feel inside of ourselves a movement towards that what is actually going to give us the pleasure we seek is the relationship that we create with whatever it is we think we're desiring that's going to satisfy us.
So it seems to me that the media has, instead of putting us deeply in contact with our own innate sensing, they've created an atmosphere of total sensationalism.
Yes.
And, of course, addiction. Yes.
I think that's a great way of talking about it. I think we're in some ways we're overstimulated, and I think I think the part that goes along with this that I focus on in my book is that our relationship to our bodily self is broken, and that happens even before we become sensitized to the media.